If you're thinking about switching wireless...
Check. 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2. All right, guys. Look, here we are. We're back.
I can hear you.
Sweet. What is the
might
other
open my
gentleman's
gun.
name?
Kevin, I believe.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin. Well, welcome everyone to Game 2 of Backdoor Insurance versus Sylar's Wrath, and Backdoor Insurance ended up taking the first game in this best of 3 series. So I myself, Dustbuster, am here with Blurry Face and Kevin, and we'll go ahead and be the casters for this game as well. So. But so far, first band's coming out, Gyrocopter and Viper.
Alright guys, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Perfect, I was on mute. Alright.
Good game.
You know,
Well played.
as much as I feel like Gyrocopter gets banned out, I don't see him being too much of a threat in most games that I see him played in.
I think it's just because Gyrocopter's been picked so much between the ESL and TI5 that a lot of the pros have learned how to counter them. So they're just having to come up with different strategies because everybody's knowing what to expect with Gyro, especially that 0-point cast on his Rocket Barrage.
Yeah, that was a huge buff to him. Huge.
It's just that Gyrocopter is good in all stages of the game. His call down is great for mid game. His Rocket Barrage is amazing for early game, and his Flat Cannon just does so much work late game that there's no real way to stop him because he's good in all stages of the game, no matter how you build him.
That makes a little good point too. But I noticed that I think if the next band they should do is probably the Shrek, because I mean that'll pretty much be all your most played heroes behind right there. I mean Gyro, Undying, and the Shrek out. So that would make a lot of sense. But we're seeing a early Queen of Pain coming out. I think that was the hero that really helped defend a lot of the pushes on the last game for Backdoor Insurance, wasn't it?
No,
Yeah, I would definitely say the Queen of Pain was the MVP of the last game.
Yeah, she was
I
doing
would definitely say that.
That's definitely an awesome
we
match.
might even see a Lestrak coming out now since he hasn't been banned out yet.
That would be a good counter against Queen of Pain. I think another really good counter too might actually be somebody with a really strong silence, like a Death Prophet or maybe a Silencer. But we're seeing a Shadow Fiend come out with a Disruptor. So based on this, what do you guys think is going to be the strategy for Backdoor Insurance?
I think they agreed to just swap teams.
Yeah, kind of like that was how it was going.
So I'm guessing based on what we're seeing so far, I bet you we're going to see the Queen of Pain go mid, Spirit Breaker off lane for Sylar's Wrath. I'm expecting the Shadow Fiend to go mid for Backdoor Insurance and Disruptor going safe lane possibly. But we already see a nice synergy between the Shadow Fiend and Disruptor because the Disruptor can actually jump in with the Kinetic Field and then have Shadow Fiend blink in the middle and start doing his Requiem.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game for Spirit Breaker. If he charges a target that's near Disruptor, I mean, if he's playing on his game, he's going to have a hard time doing really anything when this Disruptor's around.
Yeah, that's true. I think maybe the next ideal pick for Backdoor Insurance if they get like a nice offlaner, maybe like a Clockwork, because a Clockwork would synergize very well with the Disruptor or even Enigma. Actually, I think Enigma would be a great ban from Sylar's Wrath next to Earthshaker, because the Earthshaker could actually really be deadly to them. Disruptor catches them in the Kinetic Field, so that makes a lot of sense. But I really think their next ban should be an Enigma.
No, yeah, I think that's a pretty good ban to get rid of. He's a huge team fighter, and he has so much push potential. He's got good jungling ability, so you don't even have to send anyone else into another lane. You can just have someone just get solo experience. But he's a big threat. He really is.
It's true. And I think the nice
They
thing...
already really do have a really big team fight presence right now. I mean, they have a Disruptor and a Shadow Fiend. I mean, those are two really big ults, and then adding another one on top of it. I mean, those are like, you're just asking for 5-man wipes. And if you get a pick of a silencer or something like that, you could be asking for a lot of trouble because you're relying mostly on magic damage right now.
I think the other thing that you brought up that was really good too, Blurry, was the fact that Spirit Breaker is basically going to get recalled by the Disruptor. Disruptor catches him charging in, and it's going to basically make that charge completely useless if he catches him off guard. And I think they also use the Disruptor to counter the Queen of Pain from teleporting away.
Yeah, I think Vision's going to be a huge deal for this Disruptor to really be effective. If they don't have a lot of, I feel like, offensive vision, whenever they're pushing, it's going to be hard for him to be able to get those clutch glimpses off to be able to land kills that they really need.
It's true.
That also goes with the Spirit Breaker as well. I mean, they won't be able to get nice charges, nice ganks, nice pickoffs just because they have no vision. I mean, the vision is going to be very key in this game.
You notice, the other thing I noticed too is that Sylar's Wrath is getting rid of all the heroes that are basically going to combo very well with the Disruptor. But there we go, we're actually seeing a Lich come out with that Frost Bomb. That Lich Bomb is just going to be devastating inside of a kinetic field for the Disruptor. So I think that's the big thing that they need to watch out for. I think at this point, a Silencer would be a great pick for Sylar's Wrath.
Maybe they're just trying to go for that giant wombo combo, you know, Shadow Fiend, Disruptor, Lich, Darkseer, Enigma, or Magnus Enigma.
Yeah.
Just, you know, get those 5-man wipes constantly.
I think ideally it would be a very good idea for Sylar's Wrath to get rid of the Enigma right now if they can. Or, you know, there could even be a possibility that they could even go with Tiny. Tiny could do a ton of AoE damage, especially if he gets the Disruptor caught in there. But so far right now, it seems like a lot of team fight is going to be based on this Disruptor. So that Disruptor is really going to have some clutch kinetic fields and ults to make sure that the other team gets completely locked down, especially with that Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering who Backdoor's going to end up picking for their offlaner right now.
Well, there's the Tiny pick that we talked about. That Avalanche is just going to work so well to secure the kinetic field for the Disruptor. So at least they got multiple ways of initiating right now. But it looks like Backdoor Insurance definitely has a better team fight at the moment. Really, the Disruptor is really it's going to slow down the Queen of Pain from blinking away or the Spirit Breaker from charging in. At this point, I really think they need somebody with a good silence. I think a silencer would be an excellent target. Not so sure about the Winter Wyvern pick, because I can see the Winter Wyvern for using his ult in the middle of those big team fights, but if you look at Backdoor Insurance's team, I mean, not a ton of them are really relying to be inside of the kinetic field when the whole battle goes down. I think most of them are staying out of range to do the damage. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I think they picked up the Winter Wyvern to counter the Shadow Fiend and the Tiny. I mean, they lose a lot of damage with that. I believe it's the Cold Embrace. Yeah, the Cold Embrace. It cancels all physical damage, and that kind of denies Shadow Fiend and Tiny's damage output right there. I think they're going to go for a lot of late game too, because they have a Phantom Lancer and a Queen of Pain, and Winter Wyvern late game is a really scary thing, because I mean, if you put the Shadow Fiend and a Winter's Curse right next to a Tiny, that Shadow Fiend's going to be nearly dead just because of how much damage actually comes out from that Tiny on its own teammate.
That's true. The other combo I could actually see happening right now is the Tiny casting an Avalanche, Disruptor throwing a kinetic field, and then Tiny actually tossing the Shadow Fiend into the middle of the group while the Requiem goes off. So it's basically throwing a gigantic Shadow Fiend grenade. I think that's going to be Backdoor Insurance's strategy right now. I mean, meanwhile, Sylar's Wrath, I mean, their big team fight is I think they're mostly focused on a ganking presence rather than a team fight presence. But we're seeing that Magnus band that you're talking about, Blurry. That's going to work really well with them. I think ideally Backdoor Insurance should pick up an Enigma that would just complete this team lineup just to make it absolute monster to deal with in the team fights. And I think the only thing that Sylar's Wrath can really use to counter this team is by using a silencer.
Yeah, I feel like even a Darkseer right now would be extremely good on Backdoor Insurance. It synergizes well with the Disruptor Kinetic Field with the ultimate. It synergizes well with the Tiny Avalanche, as well as be able to just group up for the Lich Ult as well. I feel like that's one of the stronger offlane heroes they could go for.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Does
they need an offlane hero.
Does Darkseer's ult causes the same passive on Phantom Lancer? Like if an illusion spawns from...
Yes.
Really? So Darkseer's illusions can spawn more Phantom Lancer illusions.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
They can. It's pretty scary late game.
All right.
Because then you just see twice as many.
I'd say Darkseer would be a really great pick right now.
That makes sense. I think at this point, Sylar's Wrath is really trying to go for a very late game presence. I mean, the big late game hero they have on Backdoor Insurance right now is most likely going to be Tiny. If he get his damage output high enough, especially farms the Ag Scepters early. Oh wow, the Timbersaw.
Ooh. I didn't see this one.
I did not see that either.
I love Timbersaw. Timbersaw is one of my favorite heroes.
Yeah, and that pure damage is awesome.
Good pick right now. I don't think it's a very good pick right now, and I'm really excited to see him play because he's a really fun hero to watch. I'm really happy with this pick, but I don't think it was the smartest move, to be honest. I think the Darkseer would have been the best offlaner in this situation.
That makes sense. I think right now, though, they got the reason they might have grabbed the Timbersaw is maybe for a little bit more tankiness. But based on this team lineup right now, I think we're going to be expecting the Shadow Fiend to go mid, the Timbersaw to go off lane, and Disruptor, Lich, Tiny going tri-lane bottom. And then for Sylar's Wrath, I'm expecting a Spirit Breaker to go off lane, Phantom Lancer safe lane with the Queen of Pain mid, Winter Wyvern supporting, and most likely expecting a tri-lane for the Phantom Lancer as well. But I really think that Silencer really should be the perfect pick right now. Silencer's glaives would actually cause pure damage and bypass Timbersaw's reactive armor. So that'd be very useful. And plus, Backdoor Insurance's team, if a lot of them require on their combos is going to require a spell, so Silencer can actually really counter initiate any team fight that they want to throw down.
I actually do feel like Timbersaw is going to be really good against Winter Wyvern just because of the cold embrace that he does, because it only protects against physical damage. So that he lays that down on somebody, he'll just be able to come down because they're stuck in place.
Makes sense.
But I mean, the Dow's out now. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult.
All right, so it looks like we got game 2 starting between Sylar's Wrath and Backdoor Insurance then. So it looks like their 5th pick was a Dazzle. That's actually a interesting pick for a Shallow Grave. I think it's the main reason to use them. And then, but I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. What do you guys think? How about the Dazzle pick?
It puts a lot of pressure on the Queen of Pain to get her Aghanim Scepter. It's just how I look at it.
It's also countering more physical damage as well. I mean, his weave will just build up that armor. I mean, they want to make sure that this Phantom Lancer stays alive against that
how I look at it.
Physical damage. They don't want to deal with that Tiny. They don't want to deal with that Shadow Fiend late game. I mean, they're trying to cancel out their 2 late game carries right now.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's take a look and see what are all the lanes going on right now. So we actually see the Dire side going for the bot rune fairly early right now. Everybody's got pretty standard builds. The Queen of Pain is actually going to be given 2 tangos, so that way she can get an early bottle. In the meantime, looks like the Phantom Lancer is actually going to try to secure a top rune by himself, going against the Timbersaw. And we're actually not seeing Radiant try to secure any of the runes at all, which I think should always go for the runes at the beginning of the game. Unless they don't think that they can actually contest it. They feel that they could probably die if they end up jumping in there.
Yeah, I feel like they know that level 1 fighting against Sylar's Wrath, their lineup, is not as strong as theirs. So I feel like they just don't want to risk it.
It's true. We see the Timbersaw actually going through and keeping the Phantom Lancer away, and the Shadow Fiend is actually going to secure the bounty rune, and Queen of Pain is actually going to secure the bounty rune on the bot lane for the Dire side. So we got the lanes going off. So we do see a Spirit Breaker going off lane, Queen of Pain going mid with the Phantom Lancer, Dazzle, and a Winter Wyvern going top. Shadow Fiend going mid, Timbersaw off lane, and looks like we might have a roaming Lich, or perhaps maybe the Lich might be staying mid to harass the Queen of Pain out of the lane, so that way the Shadow Fiend can get some decent farm up.
I honestly don't think that's a bad idea if they just keep Lich in the mid lane. It'll help harass that Queen of Pain more, get a lot more kill potential, and she's going to be really scared to go get last hits. And I mean, Timbersaw is going to be fine off lane as soon as he gets some levels. Bottom lane's going to be fine. It's just a solo Spirit Breaker, so Tiny and the Disruptor down there are going to have a pretty decent time, I feel like.
We actually see the Spirit Breaker actually trying to go in and take out the Tiny right now, and the Tiny is actually going to fight him off with an Avalanche. In the meantime, the Disruptor is actually going to start stacking camps for the Tiny so that way he can farm as quickly as possible, and hopefully get that Ag Scepter up so that way he can really start decimating these lanes as quickly as possible. And it looks like Lich is going to be doing the same thing as well, trying to stack the camps along with the Disruptor. He's just jumping back and forth between the jungle. In the meantime, the Timbersaw is actually being harassed pretty well out of lane with the Winter Wyvern and the Dazzle. Winter Wyvern has an extremely long attack range with the Arctic Burn on her, so.
Yeah, it's pretty insane how
That's
long that
a really,
range is.
really smart gank. They don't want the Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the Dazzle and the Winter Wyvern smoking up, going for the top rune. I think they're expecting the Shadow Fiend to actually go top to get the rune itself, and the Queen of Pain is just going to bait them out. The 2-minute rune's actually coming up right now, and they're expecting the Shadow Fiend to go up. And there's no wards there to let them know that they are actually missing. I think maybe Timbersaw might have called that the Dazzle and Winter Wyvern were missing, and they just were playing cautious.
Timbersaw, though, no, he's going to be fine, I think. He'll take quite a bit of damage, but he'll be okay.
In the meantime,
yeah, he's got winter reactive armor.
Yeah, it looks like the Phantom Monster is actually leading in the last hits right now, 12 and 6 denies, and then the Dazzle and Shadow Fiend right behind him with the Queen of Pain following up. I think the Queen of Pain lost some last hits there by securing that top rune earlier by Happy. Looks like the Shadow Fiend's actually going to back up. It's getting fairly low. I mean, the Queen of Pain really all she has to do is just blink in there and do a quick burst and she's about to take him out, but the Lich is really going to be the saving grace for her. Sorry for him.
Yeah, even with this Lich being mid, he's not really contributing much to helping the Shadow Fiend survive. I think this is really what they tried to get him in there for, or maybe he just was intentionally put in the mid lane to stack camps for him, but...
Well, the problem is that the Lich right there actually got the Frost Armor and he cast it on himself. So when he actually tried to stack the camp right there, he ended up actually slowing down the camp when they hit him, and it actually did not even stack. So that actually ended up being detrimental. It's actually not helping Tiny get any jungle stacks at all. Meanwhile, there's only one camp that's stacked right now, which Spirit Breaker is just going to go around and check. So far, I mean, really not much stacking going on for the supports. I think the Lich needs to make sure he keeps the Frost Armor off of him and on the Shadow Fiend, just so that way he's able to stack the camps and not slow him down. So taking a look here, I mean, fairly standard item build for everybody. We still do have the smoke on the Lich itself, so I think the Lich may be watching for decent smoke. And it looks like the Lich is actually going to get a successful stack right now for that camp. And the Spirit Breaker is actually going to secure the Illusion Rune.
I'd really like to see a little bit more aggression coming out from the Spirit Breaker. Right now he's just trying to leech as much experience as possible, but he can't really deny this Tiny almost at all. I mean, seeing a rotation over to the mid lane, I think he could get a couple pickoffs with the Queen of Pain into the Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, but I mean, in the meantime, I mean, the Phantom Monster is actually farming fairly comfortably by himself up top. And actually, the Shadow Fiend is going to secure these, secure his farm as quickly as possible. And the Spirit Breaker, I think, is just trying to taunt them with his illusions just to throw them off a little bit. But it looks like the experience lead is actually in Backdoor Insurance's favor right now, almost by 1,000 XP experience.
Yeah,
Gold's
in the
almost
early
even.
game, that's a big deal.
I mean, if we take a look at the net worth, actually the Shadow Fiend is leading net worth out of everybody on the game so far by almost 200. So, I mean, at this point, they probably need to make something happen if possible. They really need to gank that Shadow Fiend just to slow down his farm a bit. Because right now, with the Lich is actually stacking the camps and the Disruptor stacking the camps here. As soon as Tiny gets a decent enough mana, he's just going to go through and farm that jungle and get his Acceptor up super quick, and hopefully start getting some nice teamfight items or some big items to start pushing these towers as quick as possible. I think Backdoor Insurance does not want to see this go late game at all. It's going to be to their disadvantage, especially with the Phantom Lancer becoming an absolute cancer in the late game.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, I almost feel like right now, this top lane, I mean, it's a solo Timbersaw versus a Phantom Lancer, and right now, the Dazzle and the Wyvern aren't really anything.
And we just see the Shadow Fiend actually go down right there, being brought down by the Queen of Pain. So that was a nice kill by Sylar's Wrath, which was absolutely needed, considering how far ahead the Shadow Fiend was actually getting. And it looks like the Shadow Fiend does go down. Did we miss the first blood? It's 1-2 already.
It was when Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend were kind of going head to head, and Shadow Fiend ended up getting the first blood on the Queen of Pain, but they traded kills for each other.
So we see the Spirit Breaker actually go through and charging Tiny. He's just going to decide to back up because Tiny is actually staying right by his tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, Disruptor is actually come through and throw down a nice Thunder Strike on the Spirit Breaker just to harass him out of lane. But I mean, right now, this Phantom Lancer is going to be able to farm this lane perfectly fine by himself. I mean, the Timbersaw is, once he gets his Chakrams up, it's going to make it very difficult for the Phantom Lancer to really use his illusions effectively. So I think that's actually a great counter pick against him. But I mean, the Phantom Lancer is still farming fairly comfortably well. And right now, we see the Queen of Pain and the Phantom Lancer leading at net worth.
Yeah, and over in bottom lane, this is what I was wanting to say a little bit earlier, how the Dazzle and the Wyvern weren't really doing too much, so I felt like if they wanted to stop the Tiny a little bit, they could just send those two over to the hard lane, and Tiny will have a pretty hard time farming anything.
Yeah, in the meantime, there's a nice camp right here for the Shadow Fiend being completely built up, and he's going to get some nice gold being farmed right there. He's getting his boots out already for the power treads. So he's actually farming very well. Queen of Pain, in the meantime, looks like she's actually going up top to help gank the Timbersaw. Timbersaw needs to watch out. He's going to be in a bit of trouble if he doesn't see what's going on here. So we actually see him coming in. Queen of Pain is actually going through and bursting the Timbersaw down, and Phantom Lancer in the meantime just going to go through and farm happily by himself. So that was a really nice game from the Queen of Pain.
That was an easy kill for that Queen of Pain. The Sonic Wave plus level 3 Scream of Pain. I mean, that's so much damage for that low HP Timbersaw to handle.
And it looks like the Spirit Breaker is actually going to charge the Shadow Fiend. He's going to try to bring him down. Does he have the Nether Strike? He doesn't have the Nether Bash yet, so he's not going to be able to do the killing blow, and he's going to have to back off there. In the meantime, it looks like the Queen of Pain actually was trying to jump in and do some damage, but the Lich was able to stay there to kind of force them to back off quite a bit.
It's actually kind of interesting. The Shadow Fiend picked up his Requiem at level 6.
Well, that's not very common. That's weird. Whoa.
It is a little bit interesting. Yeah, usually they don't pick that up until about level 11, maybe level 12. Well, like 10 and 11, so they can just scale it.
I usually see it around 8 or 9, just because by then you have your full Necromastery.
Yeah, and it'll do a lot more damage in that terms. But now mid lane doing a little bit of harassment. Queen of Pain jumping in, using her daggers to harass, and her Scream of Pain to nuke him down a little bit. But no bottle charges left on Shadow Fiend, so he's got to be a little bit careful now.
You know, and this Sentry Ward right there being placed down by the Dazzle is just going to be out of range of the Observer Ward. So they're actually not going to catch this Observer Ward on this cliff right there to reward them. So that's actually going to be very nice for Shadow Fiend because he's still going to have some nice vision in case they try to come in for the gank right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal too.
Dire's vision is dominating Radiant's. Radiant has one ward up. I mean, we all were talking about earlier how we needed the vision.
Yeah, we're seeing the Spirit Breaker actually go through and charging the Shadow Fiend right now. It's going to hit him, and he's still not level 6 yet. He still doesn't have that big kill, but Queen of Pain is going to jump in and brings out the Shadow Fiend, and he's actually going to die from Shadow Fiend's passive. So that might have been a good idea that he did put the skill in Requiem, because that was what helped him get that last kill. And the Dazzle with a nice Shallow Grave for the Spirit Breaker. The Spirit Breaker is just going to charge right out of the fight through after that nice kill there. But it looks like this Dazzle is going to be going down by the Disruptor and Tiny.
Yeah, it was an interesting play by Backdoor Insurance. I mean, they ended up coming out ahead. They got the Queen of Pain out with the Requiem after Shadow Fiend died. The Dazzle ended up going down anyway.
Yeah,
so
that was actually a pretty good trade for Sylar's Wrath, definitely there, especially the Dazzle for the Shadow Fiend. I mean, the Phantom Monster in the meantime is
interesting.
And we see the actually the Timbersaw just go down by the Phantom Lancer and Queen of Pain up top.
That's definitely not someone you want to be dying right now.
Nope. Yeah, the Phantom Lancer is actually leading in net worth right now. You can already start seeing the pushing power from up top, going for that tier 1 tower. But, I mean, Backdoor Insurance doesn't really have much choice right now but to have to try to defend mid because it's got so many heroes mid. I mean, the Phantom Monster really doesn't need to join in any of those team fights right now. I mean, the 4v5 situation is still going to be slightly in Sylar's Wrath favor at the moment just because of Dazzle's Shallow Grave, which is going to make a huge difference. And Phantom Monster is just going to be able to farm comfortably. He's already got half of his Diffusal Blade built, which will be a big deal against the Timbersaw. Will actually really keep him in check from using a Chakram against him.
Bottom lane, Spearbreaker is getting charged a little bit. No, okay, he's just going to back off. I thought they were going to go in on that. Oh, but they are, though. Spearbreaker charging out.
Oh, and a nice stun from the Tiny. Nice stun from the Tiny.
That was very well done.
Oh, but the Spearbreaker catches him. Spearbreaker catches him, but the Salve still is actually coming in. He still hasn't hit him yet, so he's not able to pop that Salve. The jukes are real. And it looks like the Queen of Pain actually jumps in and tries to take out the Disruptor, but then the Disruptor actually recalled the Queen of Pain. And it actually may have ended up saving her life because right when she got recalled back, the Tiny was actually tossing her down to do some additional damage. And he's actually going to go down. It looks like Sylar's Wrath is going to try to go for the tier 1 tower for Radiant. I mean, the Lich doesn't even have his ult up. His cooldown's on for 100 seconds. He has no mana.
This Queen of Pain so far has been extremely effective in this game. She's been roaming around a lot. She's been getting kills almost in every single lane that she's gone to, and she hasn't really died almost at all. I think she's died twice, but has 5 kills out of in the result of her being super aggressive. So this is really going extremely well for Sylar's Wrath. This is definitely what they need.
You know what's interesting is even though the Shadow Fiend has died the most times in the game, he's actually leading in net worth right now, and it's just because of the awesome jungle camps that were just stacked by the Lich, and it's really helped keep the Shadow Fiend in the game and still relevant. So he's not being completely shut out yet just because of those jungle camps.
Yeah, the supports on Sylar's Wrath are doing a really good job.
Oh, yeah, that's
a pretty early mech.
Yeah, 13 minutes and 19 seconds.
For all he has right now. I mean, he has bots, a Wraithband, a Waddle. That's a pretty early mech.
It's true. So it looks like we have Arcane Boots coming out for the Dazzle, for the Timbersaw, but I mean, Phantom Monster's almost done with his Diffusal Blade, which is going to be absolutely horrific against the Timbersaw up top. It's going to make it very hard for him to do any damage to the Phantom Monster.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see what happens when he gets his Diffusal Blade. If they try to fight with the Timbersaw there, as long as I feel like Phantom Lancer focuses his illusions onto the Timbersaw to make sure he doesn't have any mana, the fights are gonna go a lot better than how they could go.
It's true. I think right now, this Spiritbreaker actually could die if the Tiny goes in and stuns, throws them back, and there's a kinetic field. Oh no kinetic field, but he does actually go down from the Tiny. That was quite a bit of damage that was bursted down right there.
I think he underestimated the avalanche toss combo.
Yeah, and then there was the thunder strike from the Disruptor that really actually helped him secure some extra damage. We have a nice quick getaway from the Timbersaw there with his chains, but I mean, you're still gonna have the Phantom Lancer just harass him out. I mean, Phantom Monster's just going to farm perfectly fine. He's got his Diffusal Blade built up right now. I mean, Shadow Fiend right now really just needs to get his farm up so he can start making a difference in team fights. And we're actually seeing the Spiritbreaker charge him right now. I think they're signaling for a gank. I think the Queen of Pain may be trying to bait the Shadow Fiend forward so that way they can get the kill on there. Yeah, we actually see him coming in. They're actually going to back out.
This is some interesting ward placement right here. They have one on the high ground, and then they have one in the lane. It's kind of poor ward placement, to be honest. I think the one on the high ground is definitely good enough to be able to see, but I guess I just want that extra aggression.
Oh man, and we got another gank coming from the Shadow Fiend and the Spirit Breaker and the Queen of Pain, but it looks like they're going to be able to get out, and the Queen of Pain is going to be saved by the Winter Wyvern. Dazzle's going to come through with a Shadow Grave and actually save the Queen of Pain and brings down the Disruptor. Meanwhile, Lich is actually going to try to chase down the Dazzle to secure a kill. He is able to kill him off. And Queen of Pain is actually going to blink out because it looks like did the Shadow Fiend buy back? He did.
Yes, he did.
That was a huge team fight then for Sylar's Wrath. That really cost Backdoor Insurance quite a bit of gold.
Yeah, that really did. It was almost a really good fight for them. I mean, they did take out the Spirit Breaker, they took out the Dazzle. They were so close to taking out that Queen of Pain. If they took that out, that definitely would have been a great fight for them, especially because she's just so farmed right now. She is almost like 1,200 gold away from her Aghanim Scepter right now.
It's true. But you know, like we mentioned here, I mean, the Lich is just stacking these camps like crazy, keeping the Shadow Fiend in game. He's actually leading with 107 last hits, and the Phantom Lancer is still behind him by 20 hits. So that's actually a lot, and it's really keeping his Necromastery up as high as possible, so that way he can do as much DPS when he gets in those team fights.
Oh, Tiny though, bottom lane. Looking to be like in a little bit of trouble though. Spirit Breaker is pretty low, but now the Dazzle gets Wombo comboed and taken out almost instantly. Tiny real low.
And we actually see comes in, bursts down the Spirit Breaker, and it looks like the Queen of Pain is actually going to shout and bring down the Lich, but she's going to go down himself, and we'd see a 3-man wipe from Sylar's Wrath. It looks like the Winter Wyvern is actually going to be brought down as well from the Timbersaw. That was a huge team fight going into favor of Backdoor Insurance. I mean, it looks like they have almost a 6,000 XP lead, and actually they just swung the gold graph in their lead by 1,000 as well. And it looks like they're going to try to take down this tier 1 tower, and we see a glyph being popped. In the meantime, Phantom Lancer up top was able to bring that at tier 1 tower to not get them some nice tower gold, but I mean, we still haven't seen the Phantom Lancer really jump into any fights yet.
That fight down there was a good example of how strong Backdoor's Insurance's team fight really can be.
Yeah, I mean, you see Tiny just throw the Shadow Fiend in, it's like throwing in a Shadow Fiend grenade.
It's also why you see I love Timbersaw so much. It's such a fun character to play. I mean, he just runs around everywhere and does so much damage, and he's escaping at the same time he's like destroying you. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and that was actually what brought down the Spirit Breaker so quickly right there, was that that chain from the Timbersaw coming out of nowhere and just completely bursting down Spirit Breaker. They didn't even get a chance to get his Nether Bash in, but we're seeing the Spirit Breaker actually come in and bring down the Disruptor. Shadow Fiend's actually going to try to get him in and do a kill here, but looks like the Spirit Breaker's not able to do anything, and the Tiny's going to toss the Shadow Fiend right on top of the Tiny and brings him down as well. Winter Wyvern's going to try to harass the Shadow Fiend. Not much he can really do. Queen of Pain is going to have to back off. It looks like they traded Disruptor for Spirit Breaker, which is really the best trade there. And the Lich Bomb comes out. The Dazzle actually ends up sacrificing and killing himself by trying to Shallow Grave to Winter Wyvern, and they take a 2-hit loss for supports. Did not go in their favor at all.
That was the first Chain Frost that I've seen that actually hit more than one person.
And they were just so close together. And you just saw how bad that was with the Shallow Grave. I mean, the Dazzle was actually trying to save the Winter Wyvern, and it completely backfired on them.
Oh, you want to help your teammate? Well, screw you! And just get snooped out.
Yeah, we're seeing the.
What's the gist of it?
And we're seeing the Phantom Lancer actually trying to run away from the Timbersaw. He is going to be in a lot of trouble now, especially with the pure damage coming out from the Timbersaw. And it looks like the Spirit Breaker is actually going to charge, and Winter Wyvern is actually going to cast the Arctic Burn to actually slow down the Timbersaw. But the Phantom Lancer is actually going to go through and chase him. The Spirit Breaker is actually going to get the Timbersaw. He needs to do another bash. It's going to be on cooldown in 2 seconds. And it looks like he's going to secure it, and the Timbersaw is going to go down. That's going to be a lot of gold that they really needed in that team fight. But Tiny's already got his Ag Scepter, and you're going to see the Dazzle go down right there. Not much they can do. That Tiny just does so much damage with that tree trunk. And it looks like the Queen of Pain almost gets brought down by the by the Disruptor, but he needs to be careful because the Disruptor is still...
Damage.
Yeah. That Disruptor could actually still recall her from a fairly far distance, because if you get Thunder Strike on him, you have an 1800 range on that recall.
Dire structures are fortified.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty interesting. I mean, the PL's been farming fairly decently throughout this entire game without too much contention, but now that this Tiny has his Aghanim Scepter, he's going to be farming so much faster than any hero on the side of...
I would say huge burst coming down for the Tiny, which was absolutely needed, and the Queen of Pain was actually able to blink out with the Lich Bomb, so the Lich Bomb was only able to hit one target, and it looks like they're going to try to chase down the Timbersaw here, and maybe not. It looks like there's another team fight that might be coming out. This is getting pretty intense. We see a ward popping out, but there's no sentries, so both teams are fully aware that everybody is right there.
I think they really wanted that fight, but if they committed it all, I think it would have been a little bit too much of an extension, and they probably would have lost some heroes with that. So it's probably a good idea that they just backed off.
That's true. Now we are seeing the Queen of Pain actually getting her Ag Scepter already, so it's actually going to increase the amount of damage that her Sonic Wave is going to do, and it is pure damage too. So BKBs are going to be useless against her for that burst damage that she offers. It looks like the Tiny's coming in.
Grave was popped a little bit prematurely.
Yeah, was able to secure the Spirit Breaker. I don't think right now they really can't afford for Spirit Breaker to go down. But we're actually seeing the Disruptor being tossed at them. Throws out a nice kinetic field, and the Tiny's actually go in with the Avalanche and brings down the Dazzle. Winter Wyvern's going to go down, and looks like Tiny's just going to go through and cleave all the creeps, and they're actually going to go through and try to push this bot 2 tower. Sorry, tier 2 tower.
Dire's bottom tower.
I think Tiny's going for a Mask of Madness.
That's a very smart build. I think it's a nice substitute for Hyperstone because it'll give you some lifesteal, and it gives you a nice quick movement speed and also a nice attack speed boost as well. And it has a relatively short cooldown time.
I feel like it's a
some
good choice. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just saying you're gonna need some sort of attack speed when you don't have a Wisp with you. I mean, that's the only place where Tiny really falls off. And I mean, it's like a it's like the cheapest way to get it's like a cheaper way to get a Hyperstone pretty much. Although it does sacrifice a little bit of tankiness, but Tiny's already so tanky in the first place that it doesn't really matter that much.
It's true. And the nice thing too is having that mask is actually going to give him some lifesteal, so he's going to get a lot of sustain, especially with that Ag Scepter cleave. And it looks like the Lich, I think the Lich might be building a 4-staff.
He needs a Blink Dagger as his next item.
Oh yeah, that would be a great initiative item. And we're actually...
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Dire structures are fortified.
Yeah, he needs a Blink to go in, Blink duo combo just like he did to that Queen of Pain right there. Oh, that's a dead Disruptor. No, I mean, no, that was the Timbersaw.
Whoa, we're actually seeing a lot of big plays here. The Dazzle's able to cast a Shallow Grave on himself, but he is going to be bursted down by the Shadow Fiend. And they're actually going to try to go through and push this tier 3 tower. I mean, this is not going too well for Sylar's Wrath. I mean, there's just so much teamfight and burst damage being offered from Backdoor Insurance. I think...
Yeah, they're going to lose Rax.
I mean, they had a really strong draft this game that really favored them. Now, actually seeing the Queen of Pain come through and actually burst down the Timbersaw. He's going to bring down the Disruptor as well. Dazzle will go down, and the Tiny is actually going to be the main target you need to go after. But Spirit Breaker is actually going to be brought down by the Tiny, and looks like the Winter Wyvern is actually going to be bursted down as well. Does the Cleave count as magic damage?
I don't know. That's actually a good point. I have no idea, but this freaking Tiny
Is going
so
mad mode.
right now.
Yeah. There's so much tower damage, and this early in the game, I mean, Sylar's Draft doesn't have that much damage to really push back super creeps.
Yeah, they're going to be struggling quite a bit more now.
Yeah, they just have so much map control. But yeah, I think it looked like the Tiny's Cleave might have been magic damage because the Winter Wyvern was actually under Cold Embrace. And you're not supposed to take any physical damage from there, but he still died, and there wasn't anybody around to do any burst damage that I saw.
That's actually something good to know.
Might be pure.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Could be pure damage.
Oh, that's true. Pure damage would pierce that as well. I mean, this fight's not going well at all for Sylar's Draft. I mean, it looks like the XP graph, we're seeing Backdoor Insurance leading by 7,500 in XP. And gold graph, we're looking almost at 8,000 gold lead. It looks like the Tiny is in the lead for gold worth, followed by the Queen of Pain and then the Shadow Fiend. I mean, the Phantom Lancer is actually not leading, not have much of a net worth right now. I mean, he does have his Diffusal Blade. It looks like he's actually trying to build a Yasha right now, but I think he needs a little bit more tankiness, or at least some way to just try to get everything brought down. I think a nice smoke from Sylar's Draft right now would be ideal to get a kill. I think they really need to bring that Tiny down as quickly as possible, but at this late in the game, I mean, Backdoor Insurance is really going to try to stick with 5-man or 4-man pushes.
Yeah, I feel like what Sylar's Wrath is doing right now, they're trying to just stick as a 5-man is definitely a smart option. And so, I mean, so is BDI though, so it's going to be kind of difficult for either team. If one person gets caught out, I mean, the whole team's going to back up, so I mean, at that point, Sylar's Wrath is probably going to lose that fight though, which is the only bad thing about it.
Yeah, we do see the smoke actually on the Lich, and we're actually, I mean, Spirit Breaker is just going to be charging around the map just to try to get the ganks. And I think the Spirit Breaker actually wasn't able to make that much of an impact on this game because he wasn't able to secure a lot of ganks early on. It was really the Queen of Pain that made the plays, but it's just that Tiny got so far in bottom by herself, and it was such a tough lineup for actually the Spirit Breaker. I mean, the Spirit Breaker didn't have his level 6 early enough to really secure some of those ganks when they were charging in.
Shadow Fiend has a Desolator.
Wow. Yeah, it looks like they're actually going to secure the Roche, and I'm assuming the Shadow Fiend's going to pick it up, or the Tiny. Yeah, it looks like the Tiny is going to end up grabbing the item, and the Tiny actually has a Hyperstone.
I think he might be going for an AC.
Yeah, and I think that would be a great build. The Assault Cuirass will actually stack really well for the Shadow Fiend, give him some additional armor that he needs, and if the Timbersaw gets in there, he's just going to be almost indestructible with his reactive armor.
Yeah, Timbersaw right now, he's going for his Shivas. He's pretty close to it too. I think he actually has it on his way.
True. Yeah, I mean, if we take a look here, I mean, the gold per minute for the Tiny is at 429. I mean, the Queen of Pain's actually gold per minute right now is at 557, which isn't too bad, but I mean, the guy that's going to do the most damage right now is just Phantom Lancer, and they really need to get him. Sorry, not their gold, their XP per minute. They really need to get the Phantom Lancers farming up a lot higher. I mean, the Tiny and the Shadow Fiend are just farming incredibly well.
If this fight doesn't go good for Sylar's Wrath, if they don't play this like they need to in this fight, I feel like they probably aren't going to win, or have a chance of really coming back, because they're going to be losing the racks.
Definitely agree there. This is going to be a push for the racks right there. We're actually going to see a Timbersaw go down. See the Disruptor throwing down the kinetic field. Actually, the Shadow Fiend's going to jump in and try to do some damage. The Queen of Pain is able to burst him down. And it looks like the Tiny's trying to get away. And Tiny is going to be brought down. Pops the Aegis. Disruptor and Lich are going to have to back off. And they're going to try to secure this kill on the Tiny as quickly as possible. They don't really have much of a stun. The Spirit Breakers actually go through and charge him. But his bash is down. But they are able to bring down the Tiny, which was an absolutely huge fight that they needed. 2,107 gold in Sylar's Wrath favor. Definitely needed for that fight. And they're going to really have to try to make a push for the towers now as quickly as possible, so that way they can get some momentum going.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about in the right before that just happened. Like, if they made that fight happen, I mean, they're going to be sitting in a good position, because they really did exactly what they needed to do, because BDI was really out of position. Everybody was super spread all over the place, really overextending in some areas, and they paid for it for sure. They didn't get the racks, and then they lost 4 heroes in the meantime.
Yeah, they did end up losing their tier 3 tower though, which is a pretty huge hit, because they're going to have to pay a lot of attention anytime those creeps get pushed back. I mean, the Phantom Blast are still going to try to split push in the meantime. He does have his Yasha finished. This Queen of Pain is actually just waiting in the woods. The Queen of Pain is actually just waiting in the woods there to look for a gank, but his team is not around him, so he's going to have to blink right back up. And we see the Spirit Breaker charging the Disruptor. Disruptor does get caught off guard, and we're going to go through and actually burst the Disruptor down very quickly. And the Disruptor actually ended up saving the Spirit Breaker's life by recalling him. He did not expect the Queen of Pain to jump in there to get that kill, and the Shadow Fiend was not able to get in there to make any type of impact on the damage.
That ended up working out in his favor.
Definitely.
Mental saving. And not the way you wanted.
Bottom tower is under attack.
It looks like they're actually going to try to push this bottom lane down as quickly as possible. I mean, in the meantime, Tiny is just going to defend this mid lane, and he's almost got his Salt Caress finished. He's only needing 80 more gold, and his AC will be up. That would be a huge item for them. In the meantime, looks like the Shadow Fiend is going to be brought down by the Queen of Pain, and we're going to see the Timbersaw actually getting brought down as well. But the Tiny is actually going to go through and so much damage. So much damage. It's just like going 50 Shades of Grade Cell on that Queen of Pain right now. Just smacking her.
Oh, you went there.
I went there. And they're going to actually go through and charge a Spirit Breaker, and now they're tossed by the Disruptor. You know, that toss with the Disruptor is actually great because it's just going to make Disruptor's recall range just huge. And they're going to chase down this Winter Wyvern. He's not going to be able to get away. He's going to get stunned, quick burst, and we got a 5-man wipe for Sylar's Wrath, and this Tiny is just going to go through and push his top lane as quickly as possible. He does have his Assault Cuirass actually coming out to him right now from the Courier. And Dazzle's left to defend the mid lane super creeps by himself.
That went from a 3-0 to a 3-5 just because of that Tiny.
That Tiny went man mode definitely on everybody there. And he's just going to walk right past the creeps. He doesn't care. He's just going to knock this tower down as quickly as possible. And we see a glyph being, emergency glyph being popped by Sylar's Wrath. I really think this game, Backdoor Insurance really outdrafted Sylar's Wrath, which made a huge difference in these plays.
It really has right now. I mean, even with the gold advantage that BDI has had pretty much all game. BDI has had pretty much all game. I mean, Sylar's Wrath is still doing okay. The later it gets, the better chance they have at winning, though, as well. Even if they have the Tiny with the Aghanim Scepter and the Cleave to help try and counter the Phantom Lancer, it's still going to be hard to deal with them later.
It's true, but I really feel like the Cleave, though, I don't think the Phantom Lancer is really going to be able to do much against that Tiny. I mean, those illusions are going to take extra damage from the Tiny just because they are illusions for one, and that Cleave has such a huge range. I mean, really, if they're going to make any type of a difference for Phantom Lancer, they need to bring out that Tiny as quick as possible, and then Phantom Lancer should be able to clean up everybody else.
Yeah, Tiny's going to Daedalus too. I think that's definitely the item he should be going.
Yeah, he's got Chrysalis built already, and he's just going to man mode those creeps and just take them down. Absolutely devastating. We're seeing the Spirit Breaker actually charging the Timbersaw. I don't think this Timbersaw is expect this. He's going to go through and burst him, and he's going to get sheeped. And we see Disruptor coming in with an ult to try to save the Timbersaw's life. He does get the kinetic field on, but Spirit Breaker is actually able to counter using an Arrow Strike. And the Lich is actually going to try to jump in with the Lich Bomb. That's actually a really great Lich Bomb. Everybody's too close to each other. They're going to have to spread apart. And it looks like the Lich does go down, so does the Timbersaw. Queen of Pain is actually going to be able to get away. She's going to try to burst down the Tiny as quickly as possible. Winter Wyvern, in the meantime, actually casting Cold Embrace to keep himself alive. Spirit Breaker's actually go through and bashes the Tiny, able to knock him out, but the Tiny just wipes him. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The Tiny just did so much work. So much damage, but in the meantime, Phantom Lancer is going to bring down that Shadow Fiend, and there's a 5-man wipe from Backdoor Insurance, but that was a very, very, very intense fight from both sides. Phantom Lancer really needs to try to push this lane as quickly as possible while Tiny and Shadow Fiend are down for a minute.
Those right clicks were kind of ridiculous.
You know, it looked like the Tiny was actually not going to pull off any kills because the Spirit Breaker was able to get some lucky bashes on him, but just one moment of being able to get that one swing out there and that that Chrysalis just popping, just did so much damage. But the Phantom Lancer was able to secure that tier tower, which is absolutely needed for his team to get some nice gold. I think right now the it looks like the Dazzle's actually going for Guardian Greaves, which would be an excellent item to have right now, considering how much burst damage you're taking. Guardian Greaves is going to give him some nice armor boost for one, but also that if anybody goes down below 25% health, everybody's going to get an extra health regen and additional 15 armor.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good item in this game.
This is a pretty exciting game. I mean, we see the Phantom Lancer with his Mana Style already, which is just going to synergize so well with his illusions. Just a freaking cancer going down the middle right there.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. He's had that for quite a bit, and now he has 5,700 gold just sitting on him. It's going to be kind of scary for what item he gets next. I don't know if he's going to go for more tank. He might go for a damage type of item. He might be going for like a heart or something like that.
That would actually be a really good item. I mean, Sylar's Wrath was able to make some big things happen in those last fights. They swung the 10,000 gold lead down to 2,000, and right now their XP lead is actually less than 2,500.
Yeah. Does look like he is going Scotty.
And we're actually seeing the Roche coming out, right? They're trying to bring down the Roche as quickly as possible. I think... who do you guys think it's going to go to? Phantom Lancer or Spirit Breaker? Probably the Phantom Lancer, I'm guessing. Or maybe the Queen of Pain?
Yeah. I think it's PL.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Right now, I feel like he's the best option to hold it.
They do pick the Aegis, but at what cost? I mean, they're going to go through and try to TP in as quick as possible. Tiny is going to throw down his Avalanche to try to get that kill, but the TPs get canceled there, and there's nothing they can do to really save that tier 2 tower because they had to cancel those TPs. They're short a couple heroes to defend this tier 3 tower against the Tiny, which is absolutely terrifying.
They committed static storm to that as well. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that was a very... Tiny is just scary. I mean, nobody really can go against him one-on-one right now without like a silence or a sheep stick. The Queen Pay is actually going to jump in and try to get a kill as quickly as possible, but she is actually going to be bursted down, and the Aegis is actually going to be popped by the Queen of Pain. In the meantime, looks like the Shadow Fiend is going to be dropped by the Phantom Lancer. Phantom Lancer is going to be brought down by the Timbersaw, with the Tiny going down as well. So that was actually a big loss for Backdoor Insurance. In the meantime, Spirit Breaker goes down. It looks like the Disruptor is actually trying to get away. Queen of Pain does get the buyback. Oh, actually, she did not buy back. She her Aegis popped is why she was back up. But we see the Timbersaw, Tiny, and the Shadow Fiend go down. Disruptor and Lich are going to have to TP back to stay safe. That was actually a pretty devastating fight for Backdoor Insurance. Gold Graph went in favor of Sylar's Wrath. Sorry, no, XP Graph.
I think the reason why they ended up losing that fight is I don't think they should have stayed, especially like after they got the tier 2 tower. They committed the static storm for a hero that didn't even show up, and without that ultimate on like available to them, I mean that's a lot of their team fight right there. So I think after they should have just backed up from that.
And I think the Queen of Pain was able to clean up. So instead of the PL actually grabbing the Aegis, it actually went to the Queen of Pain, which actually worked out in their favor in that fight for them.
Yeah, it really did.
We're actually seeing some nice offensive wards coming from Sylar's Wrath. I mean, really, the only ward that Backdoor Insurance has right now is that top cliff right there, which, I mean, it's not bad, but considering that they don't have the rest of this map right here having any vision, it's going to make things quite difficult for them to counter any ganks that come out from the Queen of Pain and the Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, and right now it's pretty much anybody's game.
Yeah, I think
the gold graph is almost even.
I think ideally,
both teams are just playing good.
The Shadow Fiend I think should get a needs to get the Daedalus up, so that way he has a little bit more right click damage as well.
Yeah, he definitely needs that. I feel like the build that he doesn't really want to go for more tank, but he just wants to go for right clicks. So I mean, maybe finishing up his Silver Edge and going for a Daedalus would be good, and then probably a Butterfly off of that to at least give him some type of survivability off of a damage item.
We're actually seeing the Spirit Breaker go through and charge, and they're actually going to try to bring down the Disruptor there, but they decided to cancel, and the the Spirit Breaker actually went off. I mean, they almost had the Disruptor being brought down right there. He does get tossed and actually gets bursted down by the Winter Wyvern, but looks like the Chakrams from the Timberwolves are just doing so much damage. The Phantom Monster is not able to really do much there, and he does get brought down by the Tiny, which was not somebody they want to feed anymore. I mean, he's already got his Chrysalis up. He's just waiting for his Daedalus to come to him. And the Dazzle is able to get away last second. Very, very close.
Shallow Grave isn't a BKB, man. Just for future reference.
It's one of those. It's one of those old crap buttons that you end up hitting. That you just don't want to die. You just have to get away.
That could have been interesting. He pops his Shallow Grave on himself right before he TPs, but I mean, there was an avalanche available on Tiny at the same time. So.
And we see a big ult coming out from the Dazzle. Dazzle does pop the Shallow Grave on himself. It looks like this Tiny and the Disruptor does go down, but so does the Queen of Pain. And we're going to need to actually keep the Queen of Pain and the Spirit Breaker alive to really make any much of a difference in this push. But it looks like they lose the bottom racks, and they are down 2 racks right now. And Radiant is just 1 away from getting Megas.
One more set of racks to go.
I mean, I think at this point, what Tiny should do, I mean, he could finish Daedalus, but I think it'd be better if he gets his Boots of Travel and just goes TP top and backdoors him and actually takes out that last set of racks. It's really going to force Sylar's Wrath to do nothing but defend. And that'd be a good item too, since he is the primary target at the moment.
Yeah, that's a really good item against them.
The only thing that's only going to be able to take him down is that Phantom Lancer. And maybe the Quap's old, but everything else on her is useless. I mean, but he counters the Phantom Lancer, so there's nothing they can really do against him if he does get the BKB. That's 10 seconds of like free building damage.
I think what the Phantom Lancer really needs right now too is also a heart, if possible, just to keep his illusions alive a little bit longer. I mean, one swing from a Tiny and all his illusions are dead, which really makes him ineffective in those team fights. And it looks like the Winter Wyvern is going to be recalled by the Disruptor. Chakram's actually going to come out, and the Winter Wyvern is actually trying to get away, but Connect Field is actually locking him down, and he does get bursted down by the Timbersaw. Huge fights right now. I mean, they're just 5-man roaming right now. I think ideally, if you... The Timbersaw still doesn't have his Bloodstone on him yet either, and I think that's... I mean, he would have really been able to get him much charges, considering how much he's been focused down. That doesn't let him snowball often though, but I think he should get a Bloodstone eventually, and also an Acceptor, so he can have the double Chakram for that nice huge AoE stun. Not stun, slow, sorry.
I think Tiny should just buy his BKB straight up right now, instead of saving for a buyback.
That's true. Because it doesn't look like Sylar's Wrath really has enough power to commit to more than 1 tower right now, considering their DPS is much lower, and then Tiny just has extra bonus damage with his cleave and that huge tree trunk that he's carrying.
Yeah, and like being 2 racks down on the side of Sylar's Wrath, I mean, it just puts him in such a good position where he doesn't really need a buyback at all either.
True.
Not right now, anyway.
And I mean, he can farm that buyback up extremely quickly. And we're actually seeing another team fight being forced right now. Spirit is actually going to go through and actually do another bash on the Tiny. Looks like the Tiny does go down. Spirit Breaker is going to go through and buy back. Timbersaw gets burst down. Disruptor goes down. Shadow Fiend goes down. Delicious is going to try to get away as quickly as possible. He's going to try to TP out, and he does manage to get away. There's no stun available for Team Sylar's Wrath. They're trying to defend that top lane as much as they can. They cannot afford to lose at this point in time. That was a pretty nice team fight for Sylar's Wrath. They absolutely need that, but they really need to make a push right now for one of the lanes and get some racks so that way they can keep their creeps alive a lot longer.
I think that was like the perfect situation to where if Tiny just had his BKB right there, he like every single bit of damage that he took right there was all magical. I mean, first the Spirit Breaker comes in, charges him, gets hit by that. The Quap ult comes out on him with the Scream of Pain, and it was just doing so much damage. He was like less than 3/4 HP in like 3 seconds of that fight, and I don't even think he even used an avalanche or anything.
It's true. And the other thing too is that, I mean, the XP charts right now, they're pretty much even out. I mean, the only thing that Backdoor Insurance has on them is just their net worth of gold, and that's just thanks to the Tiny farming like crazy with this cleave. And it looks like they might actually end up losing this tier 3 tower. I mean, maybe not. I think they might have to back right now because their whole team is not there. Tiny's going to be up in 6 seconds. Same with the Shadow Fiend. Everybody's actually going to go through and fight. Queen of Pain's going to pop her BKB, but everybody's so close that Lich Bomb is still being exposed to him, doing just so much damage. But, you know, I think the Lich is actually trying to go for a Sheep Stick, which isn't a bad item, but I think if he had his Axe Scepter there, that would have really swung that team fight in their favor. I mean, I think at this point right now, it would be a really good idea to get Sheep Stick perhaps, but I feel like the Axe Scepter would just do so much more in those team fights. What do you guys think?
The Axe Scepter on who again? On Lich?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so far the fights have been going on long enough to where the illusions of Phantom Lancer have just been stacking up constantly, and everybody's been staying grouped up enough, and the creeps have been there long enough to where it's just going to keep bouncing like crazy. And I think that extra 4,200 gold towards an item like that, where it's just infinite bounces as long as it has a target, is definitely going to be worth it, especially someone like Phantom Lancer. It helps counter him a little bit.
That's true.
Oh no, Lich getting caught out.
He does manage to get the Lich Bomb off, but it's only going to hit the illusions, which basically do nothing. Yeah, I absolutely hate Phantom Lancer's illusions. It's like an STD that you can never get rid of.
He's a hard hero to go up against. He really is.
Yeah. We actually see the Spirit Breaker going through and charging the bot lane to actually take out those super creeps as quickly as possible. I mean, it looks like the Timbersaw and Tiny are actually trying to stop a fight. They're actually going to try to force a team fight there. And Timbersaw is actually going to be bursted down. Disruptor's going to throw down his Disruption, but no good. It's actually going to be brought down. And it looks like Disruptor's trying to get away. The Shadow Fiend has to run away as well, but Shadow Fiend's going to be... Disruptor is going to be bursted down as well, and the Shadow Fiend's just going to be hiding in trees. I mean, he doesn't have a TP on him. He doesn't really have much of an escape. I mean, Sylar's Wrath could really just catch the Shadow Fiend off guard and kill him. And I think he's waiting for his Shadow Blade to come off so that way he can get away. Just in time, right when we called that. So close.
That fight was another good example of if Tiny had his BKB, that fight would not have gone like that.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
I mean, they're regaining some map control, but it's just so hard for them to make any type of impact with the super creeps coming in.
Haste.
Yeah, slowly but surely. I mean, Sylar's Wrath are starting to pull ahead.
I think this is a good time to go for Roche, considering that Tiny is down for the next 30 seconds, and they could bring down Roche fairly quickly right here. And there's a cheese on them as well.
I think they agree with you.
Yeah. So who do you think is going to pick up the Aegis at this point? I mean, Sylar. I mean, you got the Queen of Pain, Q-Op, and Paradox are both excellent targets, but I mean, they don't really have much of a slot open. They're needing to keep a TP on them to get out of fights as quickly as possible. I think actually the Queen of Pain might be picking up the Aegis again.
I mean, either one at that point is a good user for it.
And who grabbed the cheese? Was it the Winter Wyvern? It looks like the Winter Wyvern actually grabbed the cheese. We see another team fight being forced upon the Shadow Fiend, and he is going to be bursted down extremely quickly. Lich Bomb's going to come out again. Unfortunately, no Axe Scepter, so it's not going to be doing as much damage as he would like. And we lose a Lich out of Shadow Fiend again. It's another 5 versus 3 team fight. Tiny's going to try to defend this middle line as quickly as possible. And in the meantime, Dazzle's actually staying in the back and pushing back the super creeps. And he might have to go rotate back to the bottom lane.
This might be the first lane of Rax. This could be the first lane of Rax for Sylar's Wrath. This is what they need.
Yeah, and we see the Queen of Pain and actually the Phantom Lancer move up ahead in net worth in the game. So that was a big deal for them. And we actually see the XP lead going in Sylar's Wrath by 15,000, and team net worth going in Sylar's Wrath favor by 8,000 gold. So those team fights have been absolutely beneficial for Sylar's Wrath. They really needed those team fights.
Yeah, the late game presence is starting to show on Sylar's Wrath. The Wyvern ult's starting to do a lot more.
Now, Blurry, you were.
Just getting,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
what was that?
No, I was saying. Blurry was saying earlier that he really likes Timbersaw as a hero. I mean, I think at this point, what do you think? Should he go for an Axe Scepter first or a Bloodstone?
I always get Bloodstone at this point. But now that they're kind of in a losing position, it'd probably be a little bit riskier to go Bloodstone. I might go Axe. But if he got Bloodstone maybe like 10-20 minutes ago, they would have been in a really good spot right now. Like a really good spot. It would have been a lot better than what they are right now. But I think at this point I'd rather go Axe than Bloodstone.
Yeah, I think the other big thing too is just, I mean, if had he been able to get the Ags, I mean, he's gonna have that double Chakram, which would be very helpful against the Phantom Lancer. And it looks like we see a lot of signaling. I think they're trying to push these lanes as quickly as possible. I mean, we got Phantom Lancer going to split push the bottom, and then the rest of Sylar's Wrath is actually going to try to force a team fight into mid lane. I mean, Tiny is going to have to stay back right now. He still doesn't have his BKB up yet, guys. Actually, where is his BKB? This doesn't make sense. He has two of them. He still needs a recipe. And he has enough to buy the BKB. I don't know why he's not buying it right now. And the Queen of Pain is actually going to jump through, and they're actually going to force a team fight here. Absolutely huge. It looks like the Disruptor is going to be bursted down. And the next target is going to come through. We see a Lich Bomb actually being dropped. Everybody's going to go through. Tiny goes down. He's going to buy it back, and the Queen of Pain is actually going to go through and try to commit for a fight. He's going to go down, but the Aegis is still on her, so she's going to pop right back up. Tiny's going to be brought down by the... Sorry. Shadow Fiend's going to be brought down by the Spirit Breaker, and Phantom Monster is actually going to have to go away. Shallow Grave is going to come out, keep this Phantom Monster alive, which he absolutely needs right now. He cannot afford to die. And Dazzle's going to be able to get away. Winter Wyvern needs to get away as well. Glimmer Cave is about to come off a cooldown in 2 seconds, which will be really helpful considering that there's no Sentry Wards up. And she really just needs to use that to keep herself in Viz, which she was able to pop just in time. Gives herself some nice flying vision, but Glimmer Cave pops right off, and she's going to be brought down by the Timbersaw and Tiny.
The Nightwing is confusing me so much. So much.
Yeah, I mean,
he should really have his BKB in it by now.
He should have it. He doesn't have buyback. It doesn't matter at this point.
He has enough. I mean, he has all the components on a courier. I don't know why he's not picking up the... Yeah, he should have had BKB forever ago. He had 3,300 gold just barely for that fight.
Yeah, and I mean, every single fight so far, he's gotten hexed, and then he just gets nuked down by all the magic damage. And with a BKB, it would just negate everything. And
Finally.
Probably... Yeah, finally. He could probably just turn the fight around with his raw just right clicks, and they wouldn't be able to really stop it.
Oh man, the Queen Pain has actually got to refresh her orb so she could get that double ult in there. And she was able to barely blink away before the Disruptor and the Shadow Fiend were able to finish her off. So that was a very close call for Happy. In the meantime, we see the Spirit Breaker coming right back up.
Respawn for Roche.
5 minutes, yeah. I mean, this is a very intense fight. I mean, Backdoor Insurance is very quickly losing the advantage that they're having. I mean, like you guys said, that BKB for the Tiny just came so late. But I think this actually might be the team fight that's going to make it. I mean, I think this BKB is going to come right in, and it's going to be the reason that I think they're going to take this next team fight, and they're going to be able to get Mega Creeps. What do you guys think?
Well, it just depends on how well they kite the BKB, I guess. I mean, if they kite it, or they just use Queen of Pain ults directly onto the Tiny while he has Mask of Madness on, he's gonna have less than half of his HP even with BKB on.
That's true. But the thing is, he just barely bought the BKB, which means he actually has a 10-second duration on it right now. So, I mean, how long can they really kite it before they... before Tiny brings on the racks? I mean, maybe his goal right now is he could be the sacrificial goat and just go in there to BKB, pop for the full 10-second duration, and go after the tier 3 tower and just bring down the racks as quick as possible and then just die. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that 10-second BKB charge is going to be big, especially almost an hour into this game. This late, it's just going to be enormous having that long of a magic immunity.
Yeah, I think right now the next thing he should really finish is just getting his Daedalus up. I mean, his Chrysalis is done. It's been done for a while now. Spirit Breaker, I think next item he should get is, I don't know, maybe an Ag Scepter, so that way it gives him a nice AoE stun whenever he does Nether Bash. Or Nether Strike, sorry. I mean, his Queen of Pain and Phantom Lance are the reason they're able to push back these creeps right now.
Queen of Pain is going Octarine. Phantom Lance is going Butterfly.
Oh,
These
Chef
guys
Puppy's
are
going
almost
Butterfly as well.
finished.
Oh man, this is getting very tense. I mean, we see almost everybody 5-manning here. Tiny's going to go through and actually farm those Ancients. I think he's trying to get his buyback farmed up. Again, I mean, his buyback's not available to him for like another... Well, it's actually
2 minutes.
2 minutes on buyback cooldown.
Same with the Shadow Fiend. I think Shadow Fiend should just finish his Butterfly. I think he can farm enough for buyback in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, right now the GPM and XPM for the Phantom Monster and the Queen of Pain is in the upper 500s, and then for Backdoor Insurance, I mean, only one of the heroes is above 500, and that's Tiny. Everybody else is under 500 for GPM and XPM, and they have about an 8,300 gold lead for Backdoor Insurance. Sorry, for Sylar's Wrath. We actually see a team fight being forced out here. You'll see the Phantom Monster actually jumping in and try to bring down the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend's going to cash this Requiem, and the Phantom Monster is just going to go through and jump right back in there to try to bring down the Phantom Monster, and he is going to go down with the Shadow Fiend, and both of them have a 2-minute respawn time, which is... They cannot lose the Phantom Monster right now, but he does end up buying back, but the Spirit Breaker is actually going to go down as well. And everybody's actually trying to get away. And Phantom Monster does end up... Wait. Oh, yeah, had Boots of Travel. He bought back and then they...
Glimpsed him back to...
That was a very nice glimpse from the Disruptor.
I know, this... The Phantom Monster could turn around. He could take these guys.
Tower is under attack.
I don't know. Not with that Tiny right behind him.
Well, Tiny's with him now. Never mind. Okay, I didn't see Tiny yet. I was like, if it's just those three without Tiny, I mean...
Yeah, and he doesn't have any more Diffusal Blades either. Diffusal Blade charges.
Looks like it's like, what, a minute and a half before Roche is up, or a minute?
Yeah, Queen of Pain is actually going to try to go through and actually do some damage here before she gets bursted down by the Tiny and the Timbersaw. Things are not going well. We got almost a 2-minute downtime for the Queen of Pain. I mean, they only got the Phantom Lancer, Winter Wyvern, and Dazzle. I think maybe if they end up throwing Winter's Curse onto the Tiny, no, actually that wouldn't really do much. I mean, they really need to bring down one of their heroes with the Winter's Curse.
Yeah, it's either you need to throw it on Shadow Fiend or you need to throw it onto
Timbersaw.
well, okay, it depends. Yeah, there's a couple good choices. I mean, you could throw it onto Disruptor, but his ultimate hasn't really been doing too much work on like their whole team. But getting rid of someone like Shadow Fiend or trying to get rid of someone like Tiny, where if he gets Winter's Cursed and Shadow Fiend is forced to attack him, I mean that's a lot of right clicks heading the way of Tiny, even if his BKB's popped.
That's true. But the thing is, does Shadow Fiend's Desolator affect Tiny when a Winter's Curse takes place? I mean, would he take the negative armor damage?
I think so.
Okay. Because that'd be a big one. I mean, right now Tiny's got 3,100 health, which is just makes him a monster tank.
Regeneration.
Yeah, he's pretty big right now. I think after his Daedalus, kind of curious what he's going to be going as his last item. If he wants to get rid of his Mask of Madness, maybe go for like a Yulner, or if he wants to just hold on to that, or... I mean, Tiny is almost maxed out right now.
That's true. You know, it makes me happy, Dustin, that you say Mjolnir, because I hear a lot of people play the game and they say Mjolnir, which drives me nuts. It's Mjolnir. Say the name right. Mjolnir. It's not Mjolnir. It's Mjolnir. Everybody.
Did you even watch like
Avengers?
Oh my god.
You know, like only the biggest.
Yeah, the Avengers,
Mjolnir.
even superhero man.
It looks like the Roche is going to go down. I think the Tiny is going to pick up the Aegis. I think at this point, I mean, they're going to secure this Rax as quick as possible, or they might just go overthrown right down mid. This is very scary. I mean, Spirit Breaker is nowhere near them to really do much of a damage. I mean, things just trying to push back this lane to prevent them from losing that Rax, which is absolutely needed because there's going to be at least some type of a little bit of backdoor protection for the top lane, but it's just really not much they can do to push this lane back. This is going to be a very, very tough game for Sylar's Wrath to come back from, even though they are leading in gold and XP.
Yeah, right now it's still pretty much anybody's game. I mean, the top two who are at the top of the network board right now is Phantom Lancer and Queen. But if either team really screws up, it could be the other team's game, which is what it is at this point.
That's true, and the only guys with positive KDRs as well is actually the Queen of Pain and Tiny and Phantom Lancer. And I mean, the Shadow Fiend's actually negative KDR at the moment.
I'd say Tiny sells Mask of Madness and buys Divine and finishes game.
Or, oh, you know what? Maybe get a Moonstone, and then I mean that could be a 7th item and give him additional attack speed, and then he could actually drop the Mask of Madness and I don't know, get another big damage item like MKB maybe. And this tower is going to be brought down. Oh, nice glyph. They really need to force a team fight right now. This is going to be a big team fight, which this is going to be GG if Sylar's Wrath does not take this. And we see the winner's curse actually coming out on a Tiny, and Tiny is actually going to be bursted so quickly down. But the Aegis is going to come back in 3 seconds. They need to do as much damage as quickly as possible. Tiny's going to come right back up. The right click's going to come through, and he's just going to go through and swing. And it looks like the Spirit Breaker goes down. The Phantom Lancer is able to get Cold Embrace, and he is actually able to survive, and he's going to have to run away here. And they lose the tier 3 tower. Tiny's actually going to try to go through and push the Rax. In the meantime, everybody's actually going to try to focus and burst down on Tiny as quickly as possible. He does go down. Timbersaul's going to go down. Shadow Fiend is down. And it looks like the Lich and the Disruptor are the only ones alive. They were able to defend the Rax, and that was a huge team fight for Sylar's Wrath. They absolutely needed that, and now they need to try to go for a quick push down the middle, try to finish this lane as quickly as they can. I mean, that was a much-needed team fight. Does Tiny have buyback available?
Yeah, he does right now.
Yeah, this is scary. I mean, even the fact that they...
on BDI has their buyback right now, and I think only Wyvern on Sylar's Wrath has his buyback. That's about it, though.
Yeah, that was a much needed team fight for them, that was a very, very scary fight. But I mean, it's just like you guys said. I mean, how much of a difference can they really make right now, considering the buybacks are? They have to win that team fight and also team fight here in order for them to make a difference. And we see Tiny actually buying back already. The Phantom Lancer is actually going to try to put some work into towers as quickly as possible, but they really need to be careful. They need to make sure that they win this team fight as quickly as possible. Shadow Fiend's going to be up in 3 seconds. Another big team fight. Yeah, he went for the... Looks like he actually went for the melee range and still needs to go for the range creep, the range Rax. It looks like everybody's actually trying to get into position to do some damage here. Spirit Breaker's actually go through and charge the Shadow Fiends. Lich is actually going to throw in the Lich Bomb, but he's not able to make the Lich Bomb bounce at all because there's no Ag Scepter and the BKB actually came in. Shadow Grave's going to come out for Phantom Lancer. Spirit Breaker's going to go down. Shame for the Timbersaw, and they're going to have to back up. Disruptor, in the meantime, is going to go back to Throne. Queen of Pain's going to try to get away. I mean, the Tiny is just going after them. So terrifying. I know
yeah, this Wyvern might end up going down. The Glimmer Cape saving him quite a bit though.
He does have the cheese though, so cheese could still keep him alive if he pops it. But he's actually going to use the. Well, actually, he still has Arcane Boot, so he should really use that to give himself some extra mana. Such an intense game.
Yeah, it's going back and forth quite a bit. It's really entertaining. So far, these two teams have been really fun to watch. No one's really had a crazy advantage in the entire game. It's been a good series so far.
Absolutely, and I mean the XP graphs and the gold charts. I mean they are just. I mean it's really just going up and down. I mean the XP graph is almost caught up to be fairly broke even, but Sylar's graph still does have the gold advantage. But I mean they have Tiny, and Tiny's just so scary late game with all his items, and he's got his Daedalus finish right now. I think the next item he should go for is Boots of Travel, and then maybe getting the Moonstone and just consuming the Moonstone to give himself that extra attack speed. What do you guys think?
For Tiny, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about?
Yeah.
So, okay, I was spacing out for a second. Yeah, Boots of Travel, I think, are his next item.
Go Boots, and I really think you should go for a Moonstone, because that Moonstone's just going to give him so much attack speed. And it could be a 7th item because he could just consume it.
Yeah, I think going for Moonstone, Moonshard, sorry, and replace his Mask of Madness. Possibly even a Butterfly, because it'll give him some evasion and attack speed. I think those are his two main choices right now. That
was actually a very, very close call for the Phantom Lancer. The Disruptor actually ended up glimpsing him back, but the Phantom Lancer actually ended up casting his, what's it called? His Doppelganger right at the last second, actually dodged that recall, or a glimpse, so... That could have been a death for Phantom Lancer. Would have been absolutely devastating for them.
The current time is 11 o'clock p.m.
Though, I mean, if they took him out.
Yeah, the Quack would be a huge loss because her Refresher Orb is up as well, and she's almost got her Octarine Core finish. I mean, she's got buyback available. She does have an 800 gold surplus. I don't know what other item she's missing to get that Octarine Core. I don't remember the recipes. Actually, she does.
Ooh, she doesn't even want to get her buyback.
Oh yeah, that's a big risk. I mean, they're all in it now.
Yeah, for an item like an Octarine Core, it's definitely not something worth getting rid of your buyback at. I mean, at 68 minutes into the game, the only thing that the Octarine Core does is when you use your ultimate, it'll heal you, but half the time when you're Queen of Pain, you're blinking in and using your ult, so you're already full HP anyway.
It's true.
But Phantom Lancer gets taken out, though, in the woods.
Oh, no. That was a bad fight. And the other thing, too, is that Queen of Pain's Octarine Core will actually lower her cooldown down to 3 seconds for Shadow Strike. Her blink will be 4.5 seconds, and then her Scream Pain is 5.5. But really, I mean, her ult's cooldown is going to be down to 30 seconds, which means she's not going to get three Sonic Waves in one team fight. She's only going to get 2 with the Refresher's Orb before the fight's over.
Refresher Orb's shortened too.
It's true.
Oh wow, it does it on the Refresher? Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, Octarine's Core is pretty awesome because it affects all items and lowers the cooldown for all items by 25%, which is really nice on heroes with big spells like Tidehunter, Enigma. But I mean, for guys like Bristleback, it's absolutely scary how quickly his cooldown comes off in place.
Yeah, Bristleback with an Octarine Core is pretty ridiculous.
This is just...
Especially if he has Radiance. Radiance
Yeah.
Bristleback Octarine Core is terrible because Lifesteal works with Radiance or Spellsteal or whatever.
This is so
terrible.
intense right now. I'm kind of nervous. I don't even know what's gonna happen. Does the butterfly evasion give curve for the illusions as well, or no?
Yeah, it works against all physical type moves.
Okay, so his illusions are actually gonna get the evasion bonus from the butterfly. So that's gonna be really nice for the final answer.
onto the on his oh sorry, I thought you meant if someone was attacking somebody with a butterfly.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Because I know Hard Tarrasque works for the Phantom Lancer for his illusions, so that'd be very nice.
I would imagine that it would work.
I think right now they're just playing super careful, being as careful as they can right now. I mean, there's this is actually
almost up to.
very long game. We're 71 minutes into game 2 between Sylar's Wrath and Backdoor Insurance, so this is been a very close series. I think everybody's actually level 25 now at this point, right? Oh no, actually the Timbersaw, Lich, and Disruptor are still not level 25 yet, but everybody on Sylar's Wrath except the Dazzle and Winter Wyvern are level 25.
This fight's gonna be pretty interesting.
I don't even know what to expect. I mean, they're gonna go in for the Roshan, and there's no wards from Sylar's Wrath to let them know that they are in there. So, I mean,
They sent the courier in. They sent the courier in.
and the Roshan's gonna go down before anything happens, and Shadow Fiend is going to secure the Aegis. And we're seeing the Shadow Fiend being tossed like a grenade, and still able to get away. Dazzle is actually going to be brought down. Shadow Gear is going to come up, but he's not going to keep him alive long enough for the TP to come out. Oh, it does! Oh, that was so close. That was so close, but the Winter Wyvern will go down there. But I think they were just lucky that the TP hadn't been used in a while, so the TP time was actually relatively low. But they did not look like the Dazzle was going to survive right there.
I'm not convinced that he did that on purpose. I think he just shallow graved and like panicked and tried to get out.
Very scary, very intense fight. This is it. This is going to be another huge team fight that they absolutely need. And Dazzle actually throwing down the weave to bring down the armor as quickly as possible.
I think right now Nightwing is on the Tiny. He's just trying to let the fight go, and then he can just go up top and try to get the Ranax, but I don't know. Yeah,
and the Assault Cuirass is actually a nice counter against Dazzle's ult, which was absolutely needed. And right now they're actually trying to force a team fight, and the Phantom Lancer's illusions are actually going to go through and chase after the Timbersaw and try to knock down his man as quick as possible. Queen of Pain is actually going to come in, and they're going to try to bring down the Timbersaw, but the Blade Mail is actually going to end up killing the Spirit Breaker himself. In the meantime, Tiny is actually just going to ignore the whole team and just go straight for the racks. They do pop the glyph, and everybody's going to go and jump in on the Tiny as quick as possible. That cleave damage is just beast mode. It's going to make it so hard for the Phantom Lancer to do any damage. They're going to try to bring down the Shadow Fiend as quick as possible, try to do some damage. But unfortunately, Shadow Fiend does have the Aegis. He's going to come right back up. And it looks like the Shadow Fiend is going to pop Requiem. And it looks like the racks are going to go down, and the Mega Creeps now come out for Backdoor Insurance. Tiny came for what he needed. He's going to go down, but they came what they needed. Came for what they needed, and you can try to push this tower here. Tiny's going to be brought down. Sorry, Queen of Pain is actually going to be brought down by the Shadow Fiend. She's going to buy back. I mean, that was a huge fight, but I really think it went into favor of Backdoor Insurance for them to secure that last set of racks that they absolutely needed to get some more pressure to be pushed down.
Yeah, I think that really just secured them the win right there. I mean, that fight could have gone even better for BDI if Tiny, I saw a lot of the time, he was just sitting there kind of running in circles, like trying to decide who he wanted to hit. But he could have just been hitting the racks almost the entire time.
And they've lost almost all of both their tier 4s. They almost have no buildings left. I'm pretty sure this is GG.
Maybe they'll YOLO push in mid. Somebody will buy a rapier, put it on Phantom Lancer.
Phantom Lancer.
I think really that's I don't know what else they can do. I mean, the Tiny is just doing so much freaking damage with that cleave. I mean, you guys saw quickly that those right clicks came into place right there, and just absolutely stopped Sylar's Wrath from making any type of an impact in those team fights. But Tiny is down for the next 30 seconds. I mean, if they're going to try to make any difference right now, they need to push as hard as possible to win this game. Spirit Breaker is so far behind. I mean, I think you might have to charge forward, but we got Mega Crease pushing into their back row. I mean, it's all in at this point.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant
This is their last chance.
Dazzle's actually going to TP back to actually fight back these serials. They do get the racks, and they're actually end up TPing back here. The Lich gets bursted down incredibly quickly. Shadow Fiend's actually going to go down next. He's going to come through and buy back. Everybody's still alive on Sylar's Wrath. They're going to try to get away as quickly as possible. And it looks like we lose the Winter Wyvern. And the Mega Creeps bring down the Tiny backdoors them. Very well played. Backdoor Insurance takes the series 2-0. And Sylar's Wrath will get eliminated out of the crowd control tournament.
So is the next game? I think it's the finals, isn't it? Or is there one more game?
There is actually, we're now in the losers bracket semifinals with now Backdoor Insurance going against Team Undecided, and the winner of that match going against Team SOD. So we'll get the brackets updated as soon as possible. So what do you guys think about that game? I mean, what do you think could have gone better for Sylar's Wrath?
The draft.
Definitely.
I think that's what screwed them over.
Yeah, the early game just wasn't there. The Tiny was they hit so much harder before everyone else did, and they couldn't do anything about it really. They didn't shut down the Tiny early either. They let the Tiny free farm early game, and nothing. They couldn't really do anything about it because he was just so big.
Yeah, there was a lot of focus on actually trying to burst down the Shadow Fiend when Tiny should have really been a primary target, I think, over Shadow Fiend. I think another item that would have really saved them too is had the Dazzle and the Winter Wyvern actually picked up a Ghost Scepter just to make themselves immune against Tiny's right clicks.
Yeah, there's a lot of options that everyone could have done, but it was a good game regardless.
Very, very tough game. The Queen of Pain actually played extremely well. 30 and 9, 25 assists. So I mean, I don't know if you can really perform any much better considering the situations. I mean, the Final Monster and Queen of Pain did everything they can. It's just the Tiny was just so hard to stop, and Dazzle, it was just so hard for the Dazzle to make much of an impact in those fights. But yeah, I mean,
Dazzle was just too poor.
I think that was actually a great game being played by both teams. So we'll get this update uploaded. So we have Dustin, Blurryface, and Zero to Infinity here from Crowd Control. I mean, do you guys have any last words here you guys want to throw in?
Great series, great games, great casters. Good night.
GG, guys. All right, thank you for watching.
Morgan
We'll get
Freeman for president.
I agree with that statement. Morgan Freeman for president.
We're gonna get these videos uploaded. So thank you for watching, guys. Zero to Infinity out.